please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back to Omegon 2. Before we delve into the response video of the day, I'd like to apologise for the lack of content last week. I was busy elsewhere, I'm afraid. So today we're going to look at a video that was shared to Twitter by the user Hazel Appleyard. I know nothing of this account, but I did think it was some kind of AI Poe account of some kind. And that's only because some of the things they were tweeting seemed to lean in that direction. The video concerns somebody I have in fact made a response video on before, but not that often. And it's been quite some time since we last covered them, where within this vlog that they posted to their TikTok, James is Smiling, they make some rather odd flexes. And these flexes are what we're now going to look at, and of course Hazel's tweet. I would read her tweet first, but it spoils the entire premise.
Has never happened to me before, but I have been invited to 3 sex parties tonight.
You do you, boo? Weird flex, but okay. Is this a good thing to be invited to 3 sex parties? I mean, you must be quite the treat to be invited to 3, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to ask for evidence for this either, by the way. There are very specific circumstances where I'm not going to ask for proof. This is most certainly one of them.
And I know you're thinking there's no way that I'm going to attend all 3, to which I say, think again.
Under any normal circumstance, that would make you a slut, regardless of gender. It would also make you a liar, unless your intention is to participate in 1, be the cameraman for the 2nd, and to sleep during the 3rd, or be experimented on? I don't know how you do this. Of course there's an alternative. They all be hosted at the same time or be held at different times and you are able to get to all 3 because conveniently they're all very close to one another. Additionally, how do you define party? How many people are involved? Because if it's just one person or a Facebook party, do expect only one other person to turn up and it be the only person that begs to be at these parties.
I am all about breaking records and being of service to my community.
I don't know if that's a record worth bragging about, but I'm not going to hate the player for attempting to break what must be to you a land speed record. I am, much like the oikory that is typically called humanity, going to judge you harshly.
One's at 5 p.m. and I'm almost there. Then the next one has a hard cutoff at 7 and that's in Midtown, so I gotta get there. The 3rd one's at 9:30, also in Midtown, so this is very manageable. I have snacks, I have breath mints, I have long socks so I can stick a bottle of lube in them at close check if I need to. I am ready and prepared to make history.
There are 2 parts of this that fascinate me. The first is that you upload this to TikTok. That fascinates me because there isn't really much in TikTok to make from TikTok, especially as this is a vlog, as you have put it, 18+ vlog. YouTube would be beneficial for you to grow your brand, even if it is somewhat NSFW by the standards of YouTube's terms of service. The second is the location of this and convenience of it. Could you guys not just make this into one big party? Or are there too many divas or power bottoms that had to be spread out?
Okay, I'm here, I gotta go.
Is this the part where we're supposed to hold bets to see whether or not they were the giver, the receiver, the cameraman, the water boy girl? Because I'm going to put money on the following. They were the lube distribution system, as in they were the sanitizer thing you push down to get the gel out. Or a squeezy bottle, depending on where they put that bottle in their sock. That sock could have been inserted.
Party number 1, big success.
I was going to insert the Brian Griffin vomiting thing meme, yeah. Turns out every webpage that had a YouTube downloader for videos didn't work. So you get Gandalf bobbing his head instead. You're all welcome.
Understand, I'm trying to be more realistic and set my expectations these days and quit while I'm ahead. Because I'll just be going at it with these guys and then I'll look up and be like, oh my god, I'm in love with 6 of you. And does that work out well for me in the end? Never, not once. I'm trying to fall in love with less people, right? And I thought that I was doing a great job and I was like, you know what, only in love with 4. I've had a great time to get out and go to the next one.
Not trying to sound callous, rude or harsh, but the word love has lost all meaning in that context, then surely. I don't suppose by chance you're writing music for Taylor Swift, are you? Because this does seem to be the place, that ballpark of where she gets her material from. Especially if you're scorned by multiple lovers at once. That's at least 3 albums worth of material.
And then the really hot one was like, hey, don't leave before I get your number. And I was like, anyway, I gave it to him. Don't get your hopes up. You and me both. The night is still young, though. There's so many other people I could fall in love with.
I like that you're open to playing the field, but you were already going into it with a somewhat negative Nancy mentality. So you're willing to continue playing the field even though a rather decent option you yourself concede is presented because you believe it to be too good to be true. You're calling sus on it. Have you been playing Among Us? Is that how you psych yourself up? By calling sus on things? If you're going to go to sex parties and read literature to, prep yourself. I don't know if freedom being a constant struggle is suitable literature when surely you would want to read Swedish-made Penis and Larger Pumps and Me, This Sort of Thing Is My Bag, Baby by Austin Powers.
Like an hour later, and I just left number 2. Not as good as number 1.
Yes, I've heard similar arguments for those into piss and scat. Now, I'm curious why we get less information on this one. Is it because it needs to fall within this vlog, that is a 3-minute time limit perhaps on TikTok? Or is it because you are so engrossed or grossed out that you just didn't feel it worth time in sharing beyond saying it was inferior quality to number 1? Why have I got Robbie Rotten stuck in my head?
The first one was at somebody's apartment, so very Friends vibes. And the one I just left was at like a sanctioned place in Midtown. There was a cover charge for this one too, which I didn't pay because they said I looked under 25.
Wait, a sanctioned place? Are you a prostitute? To go to the Friends vibes, at any point did you do one of the two following, that is? 1, did you look someone up and down and go, hey, how you doing? And did you, on multiple occasions, scream the word 7? If you're a Friends fan, you'll get it. I can add a third one, pivot. We do like a good pivot, and sometimes a pivot is required, especially around those tight bends.
Both were diverse and inclusive groups in terms of like demographic, but not in terms of mindset. Like at the first one, everyone was into everybody and like playing with everybody, and then at the second one, it was kind of like everyone's walking around like scoping each other out, and like you didn't pay $30 to scope people out. Like what?
I'll be honest, if you're paying for a service, you do want to scope things out. If it's a free-for-all and you're with mates, I kinda get why you wouldn't do that, because you're just there to have some fun. But someone paying for it, you want to be picky with the service you're receiving, or giving service to, right? Unless you are the sole beneficiary of that money, in which case they've already made their mind up and they want you. That's typical for a transaction. In this instance, you're being unnecessarily fussy about not getting as much action as you feel you deserve, or giving as much action as you feel you should have given. I have no doubt you were definitely a receiver, but you gave something, I'm sure, with one tight squeeze of that sock.
Let's do stuff. I still had my fair share of fun, but different environments, just different experience. I have enough time to get pizza before party number 3, and that's what I'm doing.
I'll be honest, if you want to eat certain food groups to increase your returns and what you're able to give in these sessions, beef is a good option, liver another, salmon, oysters, Brazil nuts, tuna, pork, basically anything with selenium, B12, vitamin D, omega-3 of course, and folate. Oh, and vitamin A of course. These are vitally important to help with certain counts and motility. You're welcome. IR Science and Smirt, can you tell?
I also know some of you are like, you could not waterboard this information out of me, James. Why are you telling us this? Partially because I am a consenting adult and this is a normal thing that some people do. And I think there's a lot of shame and stigma where there doesn't need to be about enjoying these kind of events.
Okay, so now we get to a point that I think is worth raising. You are right, there should not be any shame in joining, partaking, getting involved in, stuck in, elbow, wrist deep, whatever in these events. Sharing it on social media is where the issue arises. Not that you shouldn't. However, many from differing backgrounds and cultures are going to look at this differently. And that's in your own country as well, because individual states are their own cultures. And there are many different cultures within those states depending on the size of those states or how metropolitan those states are. Cooking pot is used for the cities after all, to describe it anyway. My country, for example, this is not the norm. It really isn't. But there are still people that partake in it, of course. I mention it because it's not necessarily a stigma. Again, if you share on social media and people from countries that are more conservative about intimacy are going to look at this differently, and you will undoubtedly get flack for their own perspective. Doesn't mean it's a stigma, just means differing system of culture.
There are also tons of people who think trans and non-binary people like me are not attractive and will never find love, or that we're like sterile. There's so many misconceptions.
I I think you'll find, because I'm going to be pointlessly and quite frankly pathetically pedantic, there are many people from many different backgrounds, cultures, societies that will not find others of various different beliefs, presentations, genders, creeds, all the usual stuff that has to be inserted here as a disclaimer, so I'm not discriminating against any one group or leaving them out. They will not find someone from those respective groups attractive. Shocker. The vast majority of the people on this planet are heterosexual. The vast majority. So yes, you are right. They may not find you attractive for whatever reason. Who cares though, right? What other people think, as long as you, the individual, are happy. But then you are on social media, and the age of clout-chasing TikTokers is still in full swing. Validation must be all-encompassing. Am I right, folks?
After getting dicked down by half of New York, I'm here to tell you that we are very desirable and we are very hot to many people, and like, you can be trans and non-binary and still have a healthy, wonderful sex life and still be loved.
Mate, I'm just gonna say now, being passed around like a joint in a prison doesn't mean you've been loved. It just means you got a lot of use and mileage. It's not quite the same thing, nor is you telling us that you fell in love with or loved a number of those individuals that dicked you down so well, or passed you around, like I said earlier, like a joint in a prison.
As soon as I got to the hotel where the third one was scheduled, the group was deleted on the app in which it was organized, and I was like, what?
Zut alors. It must have been a sting operation. They got you, folks. You've been rumbled. Better scarper back for more of those pizza noms. Which, by the way, you should definitely go back and get and send to me because that looked delicious.
I thought maybe I had been blocked. I thought maybe I was the problem, but I wasn't. Because then I was looking at this other guy who was very clearly there for the same reasons. He was like, "This just get canceled for you too?" And I was like, yeah. Anyway, long story short, he was staying in the same hotel, so we just went back to his place. So was it 3? Technically, no.
Well, at least you got to have a happy ending. Again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, right? Also, how can you be certain he didn't just invite you there to get his rocks off to you? One must be certain of these things. It could have been a form of trap. But since you are so willing to be a participant, which does raise a number of queries and questions I can't say in this video, the very notion of trap goes out of the sodding window. Did you enjoy yourself though, at least?
But was it an enjoyable evening had by all? And by all I mean myself? Yes, I would consider this successful. And now I'm going home to shower and take my prep.
I'm gonna end this one here and simply go to Hazel's tweet. I'm not gonna read the first line. The following 2 lines though, relevant. Women, I have to ask, is this something you would do? Or do we think this is almost exclusively male behaviour? I am curious on that part, whether there are many who are willing to be participants in such activities. But not because I want to shame everyone, more curiosity towards the human nature, or oiks, because that's what you all are to me. I would say do let me know in the comments, but my comments can be ruthless at times, so I'd rather you didn't. Instead, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think the chances are that this individual, James is smiling, actually went to any sex parties and didn't just walk around New York City for an inordinate amount of time until the sun went down to film in various locations and say they got laid multiple times?
Sex life.